Good afternoon, brethren, guests. Welcome to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. Very happy to be here today. It has been good weather. I'm back on Canadian soil and hot. I came back to hot weather. Like, I'm happy about that. We are children of the sun. We like to say this. Indeed. Is that correct? Oh, I love it. So I'm excited to be here for more reasons than one. I'm excited to be here because last week to me was a treat. For those of you, by a show of hands, did you catch the Saturday afternoon? Oh man, what a phenomenal treat. Last week, the week before, and the week prior. It's just been superb, absolutely superb. The youth of this nation, you know, they really are our strength. They really are. And being here today, I have to acknowledge thanksgiving to the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob for truly choosing his people, but also selecting his servant, his messenger, our founder and master teacher of this Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, Elder Shadrach, for just impounding and sharing and revealing the mysteries of these scriptures from Genesis to Revelation so that you and I can be here to digest and to actually live what we see in our instruction manual. Actually live. And last week and prior weeks is a true testament of exactly that. So today's topic is the culture and seasons of Israel. Myself and Elder Michael have the pleasure of being with you guys today, and hopefully we can get through to the seasons. I don't know if there'll be a part 2 of this, but all I can say is hold on to the edge of your chair because it's going to be a wonderful ride. And I pray that if you have questions, concerns, comments, fire up the chat, leave a great review, reach out, email, and whoever is on the other end of that at the Israelite Nationwide Ministries, the Welcome Committee most likely will respond and will answer your questions and most likely put you in tune with us so that you can also come out here on Saturdays or log on every Saturday to enjoy the truth, the message of truth. And that's what I enjoyed last week, this message of truth from our youth. My goodness, Ezekiel and Tamar brought the house down, man. Brought the house down. I couldn't feel more proud, like just goosebumps and jitteries and just the blood is bubbling and rising because there's just so many thoughts, and it was spoken about this morning, emotions were just rushing and my spirit was alive. And I was just like, this is what it's all about. So today with culture, I'd like to take you from birth to death. And we know this well because we live this. We live this. Only an Israelite here from the Israelite nation can teach about this culture because we live it and we experience it. Everything in the scriptures, our Elder Shadrach has pointed it out, has lifted off the pages so that we could just live it. And I'm going on and on about that because I want to really emphasize that point, that we don't just talk these scriptures. It's not Israelites of yesteryear and a million years ago and all those people from back in the days of old. No, this is us now, here, alive in the flesh, living our Israelite culture. And thank the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob for it, that this remnant is here on earth, that we can do this to be his representatives, to broadcast his name, and to continually reach out to the lost sheep worldwide at the 4 corners of this earth to join his family, the one true living family, this Israelite family. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world but here. Again, I say, I was in awe of Ezekiel and Tamar. And I'm going to start this way. I just got back, 2-3 days ago from the Middle East. I had the joy, a brethren and I had the joy and pleasure of traveling there to be with other brethren. Oh my goodness, I don't know, by a show of hands, if anyone traveled to the Middle East? We are blessed enough, or, as we say, lucky enough even to live in Canada where we get to meet all types of people from all walks of life and different backgrounds, right? And you get to converse. And that is one thing I do love about Canada, is that there's this tolerance of respect of each other's cultures. But to actually go somewhere else and live and see and experience, just even for a moment in time, my goodness, you really get to recognize who you are as an Israelite and what your own culture truly means to you. I have to say, in the Middle East, I am in great awe and admiration of how other nations truly appreciate their culture and their God. If you have not traveled to the Middle East, it is summertime there, just like here. The degrees, the weather there is, if you're dealing with Celsius, is about 40 to 50 degrees Celsius. We can barely handle 30 and 28 right here, Celsius. And if you're dealing in Fahrenheit, it's 100 Fahrenheit and more. And what do? We try to turn on the air conditioning as low as possible, fans, and find a pool or a beach to get cooled down. To be in a place like this, to see the way of dress, because way of dress is also a way of life. It's a part of culture and your identity. And to see a nation of people in such hot weather dress from neck to toe, and these are the women I'm talking about, even the men. But I'm going to focus on the women because I am a woman. To see women dressed, covered up in what they call an abaya or a hijab, with no skin showing, in 100 degrees, and to add to that the color black. From what I can see, no qualms, nothing to it. It's an everyday lifestyle. They're okay with that. It is like dust off the shoulder. And I kept saying, I was dying, like, my goodness, the sweat was running down. I'm like, I can't do this. How could I couldn't live here like this, you know? But for them, it was nothing. It was easy because that's just what they know. That's their culture. And in my own moment, solitary moment, I sat and I said, my gosh, I am so thankful for this Israelite family, our God, our elder, to know that I have my own royal apparel that I get to wear in the time that it is appointed. And, because I go into like overdrive mode. Well, maybe we need competitive mode. Maybe we need our own style of dress. Maybe I should walk around with something, I don't know, be covered in blankets. No, I don't think that would work for me. But to sit back and look at them and see how they admire their culture, I was like, I am so thankful that I have a God that gave me my dress code, dressed us, gave us an attire that he pointed out, that he designed. Like, it doesn't get better than that. To know that my God has just basically handcrafted this idea for us. There's no guessing game. There's no and from what I understand in this culture, it took time for them to get to that point. It took time. But our dress code and our culture, our royal apparel, if you go to Numbers and it talks about borders of blue, there's no confusion with fringes and this and that. And we know when to wear our royal apparel. So I'm very thankful for that. I'm thankful to know that, in a place, alcohol is not consumed. But as soon as I got off the plane, I was sharing earlier that it was announced in the airport, it's illegal. It's illegal to bring alcohol into this country. Of course, of their own religious beliefs. And I thought, man, I have the greatest God. We are known as the vineyard, the vine of this vineyard. We understand agriculture. We know when to separate. We know when to be clean and unclean, holy and unholy, how to just really separate and worship our Father. And he knows what we need to just have merriment and joy and to relax. Oh man, sometimes I sat there, I was like, one night we went to Dubai and I had a shot of brandy before bed. I think that's probably the first time I did that. And I just thought to myself, my goodness, what would my life be without a shot of brandy? The stresses of the world get to you. But I am very happy that I have a God that just knows his children, knows his family, and exactly what we need to preserve our culture. So seeing Ezekiel and Tamar appear, my goodness, in our history, our laws, our statutes, and our commandments, everything that was handed down to us from the greatest God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it moves me. It moves me because it was given to us by him for us to live by the words in this Bible. So I'm going to start with when a woman conceives with a child and a child is within her womb. What happens in our culture? That woman, the mother-to-be, goes immediately into preparation mode. Immediately into preparation mode for this child within her womb. She abstains from anything from the vine. So she's not going to have alcohol. She'll not have grapes, no raisins, no vinegar. Diet is important to the Israelites. Diet is important to us. We live this. It's not difficult for us to do. Some people can't choose to serve God because pork on their fork tastes too good and swine is always on their mind. Believe it or not, there's restaurants named like that. But our mothers, our Israelite mothers, we go through the scriptures and we see what we can eat. And Leviticus 10 tells us everything that we can consume from what we cannot consume. Protecting and preparing for the next generation. And abstaining again from anything from the vine because we don't know what this child is going to grow up to be, what this child will grow up to do for our nation and for our God. So diet is important to an Israelite, especially a mother with a child within her womb. There's certain things that she does to herself, the way she carries herself, her body, everything to protect that child. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 12. I was so excited, I went right into it today. All right, Leviticus chapter 12. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and born a man-child, then she shall be unclean 7 days, according to the days of her separation, for her infirmity shall be unclean. And in the eighth day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. Okay, we'll stop there. Okay, we'll continue. And she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 33 days. She shall touch no hallowed thing, nor come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying be fulfilled. Ooh, that is beautiful. So if this mother, the child within her womb, and in our culture, we tend to know the gender or the sex of the baby until they're born, right? It's not something it's interesting. I'm gonna go off in a tangent. So I'm one of 4 between my mom and dad. And boy, my mom, she's a little old lady. And she's very petite. And when you look at her children, I like to say we're all old hardbacks. Like, my brother is monstrous. He's like 6 a million. And my sisters they're good size. I'm probably the smallest of the 4. And I'm pretty tall. And when I look at my mother and I gosh, becoming a mother recently myself and going through labor and oh boy, a woman in travail, that no joke. For all the mothers that can relate, no joke. And to hear my mother say, when I did this, and when you become a mother, you like in today, 2023, go to the hospital appointments. First thing, hospital appointments, a million of them, the slew of hospital appointments and ultrasounds and x-rays and blood tests and this, that, just compiled, because the safety of the baby is important. When my mother went, oh man, this would have been 70s, 80s, late 70s and 80s. No ultrasound, nope. Didn't even exist to do. I'm like, how is that even possible? No concern, no like major multiple appointments, no anything, no understanding what child you're gonna have, a boy or a girl beforehand. It wasn't until birth. Oh, it's a boy, oh, it's a girl. And that's what I love about us here at the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. We don't try to play God in this sense. We want to really relive these scriptures and wait for the child to be born and to celebrate this child. So when the boy child is finally born, no one goes to that person's house. We protect the child. We wait out 7 days. We come to the 8th day. And as a family, we come together to honor the child and to offer up that boy child unto the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Oh, it is a sight for sore eyes. Everything in our nation, I believe, is a sight for sore eyes, honestly. It's one of the most beautiful experiences to be a part of, the offering up and naming ceremony that we do here in the Israelite nation is just wonderful, wonderful. I love it. The family comes together and we name that boy child. We name that boy child. And in this time that the mother and son, they're separated. You know, the mother is caring and nurturing for this boy. For 40 days, she's separated from even the congregation until the purifying of her blood is fulfilled, until she needs to do what she needs to do. And on the 8th day of this offering up and naming, our boys are even circumcised. The foreskin is circumcised. Because like it said with Abraham, and started with Abraham in Genesis 17, that's where the covenant was established, right? Abram's name was changed to Abraham, and he signed the contract, he signed the covenant, even with the foreskin of his, in blood. And we have carried on here in this Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. Today, we have been carrying on and living out this same custom, this same tradition, this same instruction, this same law from our foreparents and from our God. My gosh, it gives me joy to know that I am a part of a family here on earth, chosen by the King, the one that created everything, heaven and earth, that I can experience all of his instructions, all of his instructions. So to see Ezekiel up here, who was carried out in the same way, Ezekiel was offered up on the 8th day. Ezekiel was named by his family on the 8th day. Ezekiel was offered up to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob by the family, with the family. He was also circumcised on the 8th day. So to see him now, my goodness, it's like those moments of when you are with child and when you bring and present that child before God, you just don't know what that child's life will be. So as a nation, we do everything to preserve and protect that child so that they can come up here on a Saturday and give us an incredible message of truth. To me, that is worth more diamonds, gold, ruby, preservation of our next generation, the culture, the broadcasting of our God, the showing off of us as Israelites to the world. I don't know. That moves me. Little things, people might look at, it's just whatever, that's yeah. Things like that move me because it takes time. It takes time to go from that baby to an adult, to celebrate the God of Israel in your heart with passion, with joy and glee, and to expound his message and to teach it. It's music to my ears. Let's continue. So as we have that for the boys, we also have the instructions for the girls. But if she bear a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks as in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 66 days. So the mother would be separated from the congregation. 80 days she would be. 2 weeks, 66, we do the math, 80 days, and she would stay away until her purifying of the blood is completed before she would rejoin the family. And, that child, again, 14 days, we come together as a family and offer up that girl child to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, name that child, but we do not circumcise our girls, right? That instruction was only given to the boys. And again, I have to love this because you look out there in the world and other cultures do other things. But here at home with family, we know what to do and what our God tells us. We know that circumcision is for the boys. And what I love about the circumcision of our boys, it really is our identifier as a people. Children of the circumcision. Oh, beautiful. When the men and we get together at Passover, all of our men are circumcised. It is truly that really is a token between us and the God of Israel. Oh, it is beautiful to see. It is great to know that everything that we do here, again, I say, has been revealed to us by our elder, and we truly live out the scriptures in today, 2023, with so many crazy things happening. So many crazy things happening. Once that child is offered up, the child's nursed, right? The child has to get milk, has to be fed, is nursed. When that nursing is complete, 12 months, usually we come together again as a family for that child and we have a weaning feast. And we wean that baby. And that child no longer is drinking milk, is now eating whole food, can now chomp on that, lamb leg, I don't know. But we have a weaning feast. We like to feast in our nation. We like to come together as family. Nothing is done separate and individual, and I'm my own person here and this. No, we come together as family as much as possible for our children, for us even. Even as Isaac, he was named, offered up, circumcised. His family even started with Abraham. They came together and weaned Isaac, and they had a feast as a family. As it says in Genesis 21:8, and the child grew and he was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. Hannah would not go before the altar again, would not present Samuel before the Lord again until he was weaned. It says in 1 Samuel chapter 1, after giving birth to Samuel, would not appear again unto the Lord until Samuel was weaned. Our culture is rich, it's beautiful. Even everyone's precious Jesus had a weaning feast. And I love this because it just carries on from past, present, future, and so on and so on and so on. We see from the beginning of our book with Abraham, we see in the middle of our book with Hannah, and then we fast forward to even Jesus the Christ. And when 8 days were complete, it says in Luke chapter 2 that when 8 days were accomplished for the circumcising of the child, his name was called Jesus, which was so named of the angel before he was conceived in the womb. And when the days of her purification, according to the law of Moses, were accomplished, according to the laws of Moses were accomplished, no change from Moses to now, same culture, same traditions. They brought him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. And it is written in the law of the Lord, every male that openeth the womb shall be called holy to the Lord. Every womb. Oh, there's a microphone. Everything that openeth the matrix in all flesh, which they bring unto the Lord, whether it be of men or beasts, shall be thine. Nevertheless, the firstborn of man shalt thou surely redeem, and the firstling of unclean beasts shalt thou redeem. Every firstborn, everything that openeth the matrix of the womb belongeth unto the Lord. Every firstborn. Oh, this is just jittery. It gives you goosebumps to know and to understand this culture, what everything means, how precious our children are, what firstborn even means. If I'm going back to Abraham, we knew physically Ishmael was born, but the covenant was given to Isaac, making Isaac even the firstborn. My goodness, beautiful. So now the child is weaned and the child is growing. And did you know? I don't know if anyone knows this. I may have said it up here before. Sometimes repeat myself. Oh, sometimes repeat myself. Did you know that when a child, I'm going to say 0, when a child is born until the age of 7, that they are born with the most cells in their body that they will ever have in their entire lifetime? Did you know? And it is in this time, in this cycle, that's why children can adapt so easily. They can learn 3 or 4 languages. They can learn how to do incredible things. They can learn to read and write at 3 and 4 years old. They can learn to do multiplication and long division at 5 and 4. They can learn so many things. And as they get older, they get to 7, and some of those cells start to die. But it's not that they die. They actually rejuvenate. But the most cells in your body, from when you're born to 7, that's why children can do so many. That's why always there's, put him in this, put him in that, put him in swimming, put him in that, put him in the piano, let him do soccer. So the list goes on and on.
Yeah, 3 stories, and they said from 0 to 7, that's when you shape who you are.
That foundation. Yeah. This is the foundation of the child. And what we do say here is, here at the Israelite nation, we understand and know that mothers are the first teacher of that child. Setting forth the what? The foundation, our Israelite culture and our Israelite foundation within that child. So, every 7 years, there is this rejuvenation of cells. And I'm not a medical doctor, but you guys all have the Googler. And can you understand this? So every 7 years, there's more cells die off and more cells reappear. It's about what, 15 to 30 trillion cells? Maybe more? I've seen so many statistics. 50 trillion I've seen even, that repair and die. And this is why, 0 to 7 and 7 to 14, your body goes through all these changes. And believe it or not, some studies show that having all these cells actually make you younger, which makes sense because the cells are brand new. Do they have the cells that make you look 20 all the time? Where are those cells? But yes, that every 7 years, and here at Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, this is why we keep up our cycle feasts, is to honor our God, to say thank you for those last 7 years. Thank you for allowing me to complete those years, and thank you for allowing me to now go into my new cycle of 7, my new cycle of everything. Please bless me in that. And we get together with brethren, and we get together with the priests, and we do what we do to just give thanks to our God and to our brethren and to the family for keeping you whole, sane, here, protected, guarding your spirituality, enriching your spirituality. These are our personal cycle feasts that we have in our culture here at the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. And if you haven't been to one, you are missing out big time, big time. I would sign up just on that note right away. Send an email quickly. And for our children that are born, for those cycle and personal cycle feasts, the nation comes together to rear up that child and to celebrate them at 7, 14, and 21. The nation is in our code of conduct, our code of ethics. We come together as a nation for that child because we were there from birth. So why not be there as a family and as a nation to rear them up until 21. And then we send them on the way. No, we don't. But we come together. And during this time, here in the Israelite nation, when a child turns 14, they join RISE Youth Group, Restoring Israelite Self-Awareness Through Education. Our youth, again, you saw last Saturday. You saw the Saturdays before. All those young women, and young men were raised up in this nation, were a part of RISE, is a part of RISE, and go out and teach and study. This is what we do when our young girls, become young ladies. They join Daughters of Zion and talk about all kinds of things, sisterhood, develop a sisterhood, understanding the value of their virtue, understanding the value of themselves in this world and in this family as a young Israelite princess. Oh, our culture is rich. You may just want to adopt children just so you can share in on some of the joys of this culture. And by the time Ezekiel and Tamar got up to this podium last Saturday, they have experienced since birth, and have kept all the holy days written about in our scriptures, in our Bible, in our instruction manual. Since birth, they have kept the new moon. They have kept the new moon, and we know when that is. We don't look at a full moon and call that new moon as it was discussed this morning. We know when there's a new moon, we don't see it. We know when there's a new moon, it is the first day of the month. If you'd like to read, you can go to Exodus 12 and read that, as was read this morning. We know that if you know the first day of the month, then you can count until the seventh day of the month, which is our Sabbath. Our Sabbath. And you know what? I'll read, because everyone always reads it. Maybe I'll read both. I'll read the one that was read this morning, but I'll read the one that everyone always talks about. So in Genesis chapter 2, maybe I'll do all of them actually. Let's go to Genesis chapter 2. Because I like to show threads. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work, which he had made, and rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. Let's fast forward. Let's go to when it was given to us as a law. Let's go to Exodus 20. Exodus 20. And we'll start at verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. 6 days we have to do all our work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy sons, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. And we'll go to one more. The seventh day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, it didn't say the 14th day and the 21 day and the 28th day. It said the seventh day with a TH. Just one day. Let's go to Ezekiel 46. Go there really quick. Thus saith the Lord, the gate of the inner court that looketh toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Sabbath it shall be open, and in the day of the new moon it shall be opened. Yes, absolutely, that's a mic drop. Our new moons and our Sabbaths is precious to us. It is the season of us. It is our season. It is our time to do what we need to do to get our Father's attention, to give glory, to give thanks, to praise his name. And I want to thank even Elder Sophie for all that you did this past month between our new moon and Sabbath season. Thank you. And these days, even Ezekiel and Tamar, they have lived this and kept this their entire life before you saw them here at the podium last Saturday. Their entire life, they have done this. By a show of hands, how about the rest of you? Really, Elder Freddie? Oh, it was on its way. It was bound, it had to be. Elder Michael, you too? Here on earth, or just checking, just want to make sure. Always. But our youth and us as a family, we make sure that this happens. We are carrying out this culture. We are keeping it alive. We are bringing the words alive. We are preserving our culture, right? We cherish it. We revel in it. Then our Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread. As we know, here is the 14th and 15th day somebody asked about. That's when that becomes important. That's when those days become important. When your first month is here, a bib is here, we know what to do. We have the lamb, we have the meal that was given to us by the greatest God, the unleavened bread, the lamb, the bitter herbs, everything. It's like our greatest moment. We come out in style, all of our jewelry is on, because our foreparents left Egypt with all that gold, I think one year I adorned myself. Really reliving that night and that experience. This is our time. This is when the 14th and 15th day mean much to us in a month, especially in the month of Abib. And our children, our youth, us, we live this. Ezekiel and Tamar, since birth, have kept this. This is why I'm saying it was such a goose. Like, I just go into overdrive, like, oh my, what? Look at this. Look at what I'm looking at. Look at what I'm watching. I go into overdrive. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I need to take a chill pill. Always thinking, always thinking. And with our family, we understand the importance even of feasts of dedication. Nothing here we do at the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries is taken for granted. Nothing is taken for granted. Not our house and not our temple, not our altar. Everything we do with intention. We move, I love that about us. We move with intention. Nothing is by a coincidence or maybe so, I can guess. No, everything is done with intention. Intention from the scriptures, from our God, and revealed even from our elder. Everything is precise. Everything is line by line. Everything is precept upon precept. Everything has its order, its structure. Our government, our Supreme Council, our leadership, the congregation, the youth, RISE, DOZ, PWA, MOV, like everything is structured. Every department. I love that. There's no room for chaos. There's no room for chaos. People like to say we can't get together and do things. And to be honest, I feel like I'm so tired of hearing that. I want to prove that wrong. It's tiring. I want to prove that wrong. And I like here us as a family, we have this understanding. We have this knowledge, this wisdom, and this understanding. We understand Feast of Dedication. We understand when to do it. Let's go to Numbers 7. And I'll read from 1 to 10. And it came to pass on the day that Moses had fully set up the tabernacle and had anointed it and sanctified it and all the instruments thereof, both the altar and all the vessels thereof, and had anointed them and sanctified them, that the princes of Israel, heads of the house of their fathers, who were the princes of the tribes and were over them that were numbered, offered. And they brought their offering before the Lord, 6 covered wagons and 12 oxen, a wagon for 2 of the princes, and for each one an ox. And they brought them before the tabernacle. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Take it of them, that they may be to do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. And thou shalt give them unto the Levites, to every man according to his service. And Moses took the wagons and the oxen, and gave them unto the Levites. 2 wagons and 4 oxen he gave unto the sons of Gershon according to their service, and so on and so forth. And the 10th verse reads, And the princes offered for dedicating of the altar in the day that it was anointed. Even the princes offered their offering before the altar. Oh, I love that. I love it because here now we have the altar. It's anointed, it's separated, and you have the princes of our family coming. And you know, when people in the world like to think of hierarchy and people that are way up here, they are coming before the Lord and coming before the altar and doing their own offering. You know, the Levites are doing the service of this offering. And to know that this is a family affair from top to bottom, that we dedicate our altar and give offering. And again, this is our culture. I love this, you know, tithing is a part of us. It always has been. Even when Abraham met with the angels, he came with, you know, bread and wine. It's giving, even the 10th part of us, right? We always do. When Solomon had finished building the temple in 1 Kings 8, he offered a sacrifice of peace offerings, which he offered unto the Lord, 22,000 oxen. Like, my gosh. 22,000 oxen offered. Like, what does that even look like? 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the children of Israel, dedicated the house of the Lord. A great offering for a great feast, a great nation. Oh, this is what we do here today at Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. I live to see the day, and I'm a big believer, and I like to dream big, that there will be 22,000 oxen and 120,000 sheep offered. Okay, maybe it's just gold. Maybe it's lumber. Maybe it's the greatest cedars of Lebanon. You'll take the gold? But I live to see the day that there is a great feast of us, even greater, you know, throughout the 4 corners of this earth, coming together to dedicate in such great, great numbers. But I am happier to live and know that we do this now. We're not waiting for numbers. It could be 1 or 50 million, but we will do it now because it is our custom, our traditions, our laws. It is us. It is us. And again, Ezekiel and Tamar have been a part of this process. They're part of the family. What I love about us is our knowledge and wisdom and understanding. And as we live our lives, we go on and we fast forward throughout the year and we come to acknowledge the Pentecost and even the first fruits of our harvest. But we know as Israelites, we are not in the land. We are not in our land. So we don't do the first fruits. But we have an acknowledgement. We come together and we acknowledge, we recognize the 7 Sabbaths that shall be complete and the 50 days after, and we do an acknowledgement of that because we remember the days of old, right? And immediately, like you live this time, immediately after that, we go right into blowing of the trumpets, right into our month of Ethanim. The first day is a Sabbath. Again, this warning, this preparation, this coming together of family as a solemn assembly. always a togetherness. The first day is our warning. It's a new moon. It's the only Sabbath of a new moon that we come together to acknowledge our God and to prepare for the holy month, even one of the holiest. And we start to prepare our tabernacle, our temple, our self, because I'm about to throw out another number, and it's not 7 this time, but it's 10. And on the 10th day, we come together as a family or as a household to atone, Day of Atonement. I like to think of it like this. When we tithe, we give 10%. And you have an entire year, all these Israelite months, Abib, Ziph, Ziphan, Tammuz, Ab, Elu, Ethanim, Bul, Cheslo. I hope I'm not mixing up the order, and Adar. But you have all the Israelite months, and here is the one day out of the year, the one day out of our Israelite calendar that we come together, that the God of Israel says, you must atone for your sins, your trespasses, your transgressions. You must do that because guess what? Newsflash, if you haven't heard, none of us is perfect. So he says, come together and I will recognize, atone, I will recognize. And I personally like to look at this day as that is the 10% of the year that we really just come together, do what we need to do to get our Father's attention and say, hey, I'm here and I'm doing what I need to do to right my wrongs. Because only as Israelites we know when we sin, we trespass, he is the forgiver of all sins. He is the forgiver of all sins, whether it's a trespass to him or your brethren, yourself even. He is the forgiver of all of that. And I look at that day as my 10% of the entire year in terms of, forgiveness. Yes, you can ask every day, but that day he selected and said on the 10th day, it's interesting that that's the 10th day of Ethanim, that you come and you do this fasting and praying. That is our Day of Atonement. And guess what? As you empty your tabernacles, Ezekiel and Tamar have done this since birth. Isn't that something? Oof. Could get you emotional a little bit. And after you've emptied out your temple, you fill it. You fill your temple with, feasts of tabernacles, the spiritual food, the physical food with brethren, and we live that out. And you can read all of our holy days and our statutes. You can read that all in Leviticus chapter 23. And again, I want to thank our elder for always pointing that out, pointing out our culture to us so that we are living it now, that we are resurrecting it and living it now. I love our Purims. We know what Purim is. Sure, it wasn't a law given unto us by the God of Israel, but it was something that was established by Queen Esther and Mordecai. And they made a decree, and for years the children would recognize it, and we too recognize it. We recognize the victory of our Father saving us from the evil Haman. We recognize our victories. We thank our God for our victories, for always delivering us out of trouble, for always saving us out of battle, for always destroying our enemies, allowing us to prevail, to be triumphant. So during Purim, it is a victorious time. It's lots of cheerleading. The children are joyous. Everybody is joyous. There's lots of fun and games and recognizing what our Father has done for us. And we retell what happened to our forefathers. And we live out that remembrance and that acknowledgement. Again, I talked about tithing earlier. How important it is to us as Israel. As Israel, when Abraham came back from the war of the kings, with King Shaldamar, he came back and gave a 10th part of all that he had unto Melchizedek. In Malachi 3, it says, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house. And prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the window of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. You know, everything we do is this give and take with our Father. Everything. Our entire life, from the time we opened the matrix, we've dedicated that firstborn to him. From the time we did the first fruits of the land, you know, you left some of the crops and you did what you had to do. The first fruits went to him. Everything, you know, and I hate pointing this out, but I have to. Again, Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries has knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Our currency was in crop. Our currency back then was agriculture. We're not doing this now. Now we know tithing is monetary for us. It can be in other things, in labor, in donations of oils and food. But, you know, people have a problem. Other philosophies, people out there, they have a problem with that. They really have a problem with that. I would converse with people and they are not comfortable with doing something like that. And to me, it's robbery. It says in Malachi 3, that's robbing God, the God of Israel, to be exact. You know, you ever have a friend, that friend? Every time they call you, first of all, you don't hear from them. And every time they call you, it's, can I borrow this? Do you have this? Can I have this? And that friendship just becomes demanding and draining and draining and draining. And all you do is give and give and give. You guys have friends like that? Nope. Plenty? It's the same with our Father. You know, I had a wonderful conversation with Elder Jerry, and I love talking to Elder Jerry. What a wise elder. You know, to take and take and take, you know, you go to God, God, help me with this. Help, 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 please, please, please. But where is the give back? Where is the give back in your labor, in your presence? How do you give back? How do you fuel? We just read in everything that we did that the princes offered unto the altar, that Solomon offered. Like, there's always an offering. There's always a giving of self. When Hannah went back to bring Samuel unto the Lord, you know, she came with Samuel, but they came with plenty more. There's always a give back. And again, this is why I love our Feast of Dedication. This is why I just love us here at Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, because we do this. We live this. We breathe this. We eat this up. This is like, you know, if you have to tell somebody about you and your culture, just everything that it all makes sense and everything just comes out with so much passion. And you're just sitting there like, why aren't you here? You should be doing what I'm doing. Like, this is everything. You know, and it's a joy to give. It's a joy to just give back to the family and our Father and man, I wish I could just give more. You know, play the lottery every day until we win. I don't know. But I just love us. I love what we do. Everything is incredible. You know, I talked about when the girls join Daughters of Zion and all of our youth end up in Rise, and even when our boys become young men at the age of 20. Oh, and get baptized. The honor from birth to turn 20 and be baptized in the name of our Father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. That now is a sight for sore eyes. And again, I say, Ezekiel and Tamar have done this since birth. And when a young girl in our nation turns 21, and it should be that she is to get married, and she is a virgin. And I love this about us. Again, marriage. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This, oh man. When we have marriages in our nation, especially, it is the marrying of two families coming together. It's two families coming together. It's not just like what they teach out in the world today. The two little lovebirds run off, ha 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 ha, and go make their own plans and live their life in who knows what hinder part of the world. No, not so. When our youth and our young adults get married, the families come together. The families come together and they get married. When Abraham was getting a wife for Isaac, he sent out his servants and they got Rebekah. They found Rebekah, and the first thing the servant did was what? Put bracelets on her wrists and jewel on her face. It wasn't a ring and the biggest rock you can find. That's Western civilization. That's Khazarian. That's a money-making thing, right? We do what we see in the scriptures. He bejeweled her, man. He probably jeweled you up to here. I don't know. Dangling bracelets. And I'll read it, actually, in Genesis 24. And I asked her and said, whose daughter art thou? And she said, the daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bare unto him. And I put the earring upon her face and the bracelets upon her hands. And boom. Beautiful, yes. And boom, like that, there would be a wedding. And should we live to see even more 7-step weddings in our nation? Oh, yes, we will. I like the sound of that. A 7-step wedding. Now that, here at the Israelite nation, when you are here, that is a sight for sore eyes. And when we are to be buried and we're coming on to death, and that young couple will have children and the cycle will continue and all that we say, and those young people are married, have families, and they become elders and get old, they will be buried. And what I love about Abraham is when he went to the children of Heth and said, give me a burial place that I can bury the dead out of my sight. They said, just take it. There's anywhere. You can bury your wife anywhere. No, a businessman. Let me pay for it. And he purchased Machpelah to bury Sarah out of his sight. We don't do funerals here at the Israelite nation. We just bury our dead, ideally within 3 days. And even Joseph says, when you guys leave Egypt, don't leave my bones here. Dig me up and take me wherever you're going. Because as we are in life, we shall be even in death. And I will leave it at this note. Our culture is rich. It is everything, and we are living it. And there is right now what I would like to call the agenda of erasure. That's what I'm going to call it, erasing. The agenda of erasing. For many years, there has been an attack on us and our culture. And, it's unfortunate. The new form of birth control is really not even identifying your own gender or procreating, if you catch my drift. I saw on the news while I was all the way in Saudi Arabia that, oh my goodness, can you imagine this? That the US is going to put sanctions on Uganda. Sanctions on Uganda. And this is the kicker. You wanna know why? Because they will not pass anti-gay laws. And they are able to do this with the threat of resource, monetary, with money. Dangle the carrot until you do what I say. And as I sat there watching the news, I thought, this is interesting. A country in the continent of Africa, why go there and do all of this? And then I thought, I'm here in the Middle East. I don't see them putting sanctions for not making anti-gay laws. I'm going to leave you with that. Think about it. It is the idea of erasing. It's no coincidence that Texas and Florida wants to remove our stories from educational books or from the curriculum. And they're fighting hard. They fought to be integrated to get with us and to take us and to exploit us and deplete us. And now they feel like they've gotten everything and have raped us. And now the agenda is to erase us completely. Be mindful, brethren. Let us continue to resurrect our culture completely, joy and shouting it from the mountaintop. As we live this culture each day, I definitely want to thank our elder for just allowing us to understand what we do, revealing the mysteries and the secrets, simplifying it so much that you can read it yourself and be like, yeah, that is what it says there. And I'm glad to be living it. I'm glad to be living it. And I'm thankful to the youth of this nation. I am so thankful for the teachers that were up here these past few weeks, I'm in such awe, in awe of Ezekiel and Tamar. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Because from their birth until now, they have lived, and we are living this culture. Peace.
Hello. I hope you are enjoying our program so far. We are so thrilled you have decided to join us for today's event. If this is your first time, go ahead and hit that subscription button, and don't forget to click the notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all of our upcoming videos. Also, please like, comment, and share our videos. We truly appreciate it. We are so passionate about sharing our Israelite culture, and we welcome your generosity in helping us to reach more people. So please feel free to leave us donations. If you are thinking about joining us and would like to learn more, fill out the form in the description below, and one of our team members from the Welcome Committee will be in contact with you shortly. I thank you for your time and look forward to seeing you soon. And with that, I bid you peace, love, truth, prosperity, and power.
Brethren, guests, visitors to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, welcome to the Pillar of Truth, Freedom, and Peace. Let us begin with Psalms 113. I praise ye the Lord. Praise ye the Lord. Praise, O ye servants of the Lord. Praise the name of the Lord. Blessed be the name of the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, the Lord's name is to be praised. The Lord is high above all nations, and his glory is above the heavens. Who is like unto the Lord our God, who dwelleth on high, who humbleth himself to behold the things that are in the heaven and in the earth? He raises up the poor out of the dust, and lifteth the needy out of the dunghill, that he may set him with princes, even with the princes of his people. He maketh the barren woman to keep house, and to be a joyful mother of children. Praise ye the Lord. Welcome again, and peace to all. It is really an honor to be here today. Thank you, Priest Doreen, for showing the world what a wonderful culture we have. And I like that because it shows that we are not just Bible teachers. We're not just here, shouting and screaming. We don't do that, but I'm just saying. We live what we teach. And that separates us from every other nation on the face of this earth. We are the most distinctive and unique people on the face of this earth. And we could prove that, not only by our behavioral patterns, but also from the scriptures. But it's always good when we could look at the practical application instead of, the hypothetical, as you might say, people might think. But since Priest Doreen has covered the practical side, I will try to show you why we do what we do and how we are thereby distinguished from all other nations. As I said, we are the pillar of truth on earth, and that is important. I want you to think about this for a moment. I want you to see this environment. Of course you know this, but I'm just going to repeat it. There's heaven, there's earth, and there's hell. Again, watch me. Heaven, earth, hell, below. The God of Israel rules in the heaven. We are his kingdom on earth. But there's a guy in hell that has dominion over the earth as well. The trick then is, how do we differentiate between the Israelite nation and the rest of the world? That's the key question. Well, the answer is very easy. We were called out of the world, out of the darkness in the world, into his marvelous light. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that we were taken to another planet. All it means is that we could walk this earth with confidence and high-level integrity without succumbing or without falling into the pit that the enemy has dug for us. And trust me, there are many. So this is it. That is why culture is so important. Because culture gives you that distinctive behavioral pattern. But you know what? There's more to it than that. It also points to the spiritual dynamic that influences your behavior. So depending on your behavioral pattern, we could tell, and I said we, meaning Israelites, Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, and we can do this because we have the spirit of discernment, which comes with the spirit of understanding, which is not given to all people. And again, we will prove this as we go on. This is why we could walk this earth with confidence. This is why we could blend into any situation, but we dictate our own behavior, so to speak, right? We don't necessarily follow the other guys. I'll prove that to you as well. All of that is part and parcel is what separates us from the rest of the world, even though we're in the world. Let me put it to you this way. We're in the world, but not of the world. Therein is the distinction. It is not easy to do because a lot of people, they want to know, okay, well, why are you not doing this? Why are you not keeping Sabbath every seventh day? And so on and so forth, as it was discussed there. Well, we know because we have the spirit of understanding, and trust me, it's not given to all people. I'll prove that to you as well. That there's only one seventh day, as we discussed earlier today. So we don't have to go there, right? You have to have respect for each day, 1 through 30, let's say. It makes a big difference. Because how is it that if you have 10 people in the room, and you're one of them, and they disrespect you? How would you feel about that? So why would you not give credit to the day and allow the 14th day to enjoy that moment in time? And the 21st day. And not just those because they're 7, but the 30th day is going to have fun too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, come on. Everything has its purpose and its time. And we have to appreciate that. We cannot just dictate. But I tell you why they do that. And I say they, meaning the guys that have dominion over the earth right now. They want you. They want control over your being. And the only way to do it is through deception. I call it, I try to be decent, I try to be nice. I'm not saying I am. I call it an allegory or a fable. And I want you to understand, I want you to make note of those two words if you can. Because for me, when I look and I do a lot of research, my elder, thanks to my elder, he asked me to investigate all the different philosophies. And that was a privilege, thank you, Elder Shadrach, because I did not know anything. So I had an opportunity to learn about what was really going on. So I was totally ignorant once until I learned about the God of Israel from my elder and also about the other guy who was running things on earth right now. And then I said, wow, this is amazing. I even learned one time that the people that are dead, and I make a difference between the dead and the ones that are sleeping, the people that are dead act as if they're alive. And I'm like, damn. How did that happen? I thought you were dead. You're dead. You're finished. No. As a matter of fact, some of the dead people have more fun than the ones that are living. I was like, wow. It makes you want to be part of that, right? Because you're partying day and night. The girls are looking nice. There's money and other things. This is what I see. Isn't that right? Yeah, I watch the television a little bit. I do. Yeah. And I have to do that in order to understand, because I don't really know what's going on in the world. Honestly, I have no idea. And I'm not too keen on finding out about it, because there are certain standards that I have that cannot be compromised. So, but again, I've learned one thing: never to criticize, never to compromise. So if they want to do what they want to do, that's fine. But I just want you to know, I just wanted to set the tone that there's the 3 different stages, the 3 different levels, if you will. And here's the deal. We are on the earth, obviously, and that's our domain. We can't go to heaven. Well, you probably can go to hell, but anyway, I didn't mean that the way it was. Depends on your behavior and the judgment associated with that. But my point is this. There is something very special about a human being. And obviously, you are very valuable. We are very valuable. And everybody wants to be us. And if you are an Israelite, a child of slavery, everybody wants to be just like you. Because why? They know exactly who you are. They know who your father is. And when I say everyone, they're getting it from that guy down there. So he has put together a plan. Like I said, they use allegories and fable. I'll give you an example. Christianity is an allegory. Judaism is an allegory. Islam is an allegory. But I have a lot of respect for Islam because they wrote their own book and so on and so forth. So that's okay. I don't really include them. Hebrew Israelite is an allegory. Well, that's a lie, but anyway, whatever. But the point I'm making is allegories and fables are based on lies. But let me give you the relationship here. Jesus Christ spoke in parables, right? A parable is like an allegory. The only difference is it's based on truth. So if he said a farmer or husbandman went out and sowed some seeds and some fell on dry ground, etc., you know the story, right? The parable of the sower. But then he tells you what it's all about. He breaks it down for you. He said, the seed is the word of God. Those that fell among thorns are the ones that fell or weeds, and he showed you the challenges that the people had in receiving the world, and they couldn't really grow properly to bear fruit. You understand? If it fell on stony ground, forget it. You don't stand a chance. You just can't understand it. So you see, the parable then is based on truth. An allegory is based on lies. Fable is based on lies. They tell you, I'll give you an example of a fable, or whatever you want to call it. They tell you, Mary had a little lamb. His face was white as snow. And the rest of it, you know it better than me. That's a lie. First of all, they don't tell you who the Mary is. But why would they have to go there? And they go on in all the details about that story. What they're trying to tell you is about the birth of Jesus. But they don't have it right. Either they know and they try to flip it, or they don't know, they're totally ignorant, and they're telling you what they know. Either way, it's a lie. But here's the trick. They use our book to cement the information, to bring it together, to make it seem as if it's really biblically. And then they use December the 25th, and they use Jesus' birthday. You know the story better than me. I'm sure you do. So therein is the allegory. Therein is the fable. Therein is the lie. but it sounds good. And when you're out there and you're shopping for your gifts, nobody stops to think about what the heck they're doing. But that's their culture. Now we have, as Priest Doreen started, to look at ours, to understand the spiritual dynamic or the spiritual element that is above our cultural practices. As I said before, we are not only the pillar of truth, freedom, and peace, but we serve the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, who created the heavens and the earth. And we do that in spirit and in truth. And this is what separates us from all other people on the face of this earth. The other thing about this, as I said, we were called out. I'll prove that to you in a minute, to show you that we were separated from the rest of the world. It is almost like the God of Israel is saying to this guy, and this guy wants to sit on his throne. He said, no, and you throw him down to hell. What does that mean? It means that he is the supreme judge, and he happens to be our Father. It makes a big difference. Now, it doesn't mean that we can get away with murder. All it means is that if you, well, maybe I'll explain that later, but my point is we have a privileged position, and we have to be very careful how we apply this situation. We are very distinctive as a people, and we are very, very, very special. And I'll show you why. So culture defines who you are, what you do, and the season in which we do it tells you when these things are done. So things are not just done, without any thought process. There is a plan. And this plan has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. And it unfolds until Judgment Day to see who was really taking this situation of life seriously, who was listening, what child was listening to his father or her father and following the instructions accordingly, or who was disobedient and didn't give a damn. This is why it's very important. We will make mistakes, but mistakes are there for a reason. They're not there to make you feel embarrassed, although there might be a little bit of embarrassment involved, but they're there as a learning mechanism. If you cannot learn from the mistakes, then we have to do it again. You're supposed to learn and step out of that framework into a better situation. Don't repeat. Don't recycle the process. A lot of us sometimes get comfortable in that. And when the pain comes, then we run out. But that may be too late. So we have to understand that the culture has a unique set of principles and precepts that have to be maintained. Their values and experiences, and they were handed down from generations of old. Our culture, we started out as a nation, believe it or not, 1446 BCE. Think about it, 1446 BCE, in the springtime. That's when we left Egypt. But the plan was laid out before that for us, as Priest Doreen said earlier, has to do with Abram and Abraham. And there's a difference there. So these are, I'm not going to get into all that, but I'm just showing you that there is a very, very dynamic program when it comes to life. It is not that you just get up every morning, have your breakfast, comb your hair, look good, put on your most expensive shoes and clothes, and, no. There's more to it than that. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have those things, take advantage of it. And if you don't want to, and you feel that you want to donate them to me, yeah, I will accept it. Not a problem. You know my size, right? Thank you. So, 1446 BCE, our foreparents handed down these behavioral traits, if you will, these cultural patterns for us. Trust me on this one. They were smarter back then than we are today. And even then, they made mistakes. So we have to recognize then that culture has a higher standard. It points, as I said earlier, to that spiritual dimension. How are you going to connect with your Father. How are you going to connect with the Creator of heaven and earth? The key principle or the objective or the goal, whatever you want to call it, is to unite heaven and earth. Not hell and earth. Heaven and earth. And that is why the God of Israel called us out, because he recognized that there were others who didn't fully comprehend or were too easily persuaded from the other side, and he wanted a people that he could work with. I know we are a challenge even to God. The record speaks clearly in the Holy Scriptures. But we have to learn from that too. We can make a difference. And our difference will be greatly blessed and greatly rewarded if we do what is right. All we have to be mindful of is that we have a covenant with the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. We are committed to his service. And that should deter us from even thinking about the other guy. That alone should help us to gain a measure of protection from the other guy so that we can continue to do what is right. Remember, as I said, we were called out of the darkness. As it was in the old Egypt, so is it in the new Egypt. The old Egypt ran the world, and they did all of what they did. Fine on them. The new Egypt is doing the same thing. Why? It is not bad or whatever, but the point is they have the same spirit. That's the point that you have to recognize. It's the same spirit, and I could spend hours telling you or giving you the evidence, but that's not what we're here to talk about. To show you how even the spiritual images from the old Egypt were brought right here into this new Egypt. And trust me, an image that is highly spiritual doesn't come on its own. Guess what? All the demons come with it. How is it then that they enslaved our forefathers and today they're enslaving us as well? How did that happen? The thing is, we can make a difference if we are obedient to our Father. And that is all that I have to be concerned about, because we have to learn how to follow our parental advice. We cannot be going down the street and whatever we see other people do, we do the same thing. That makes no sense. Just because that person is dressed a certain way or is doing, I see all kinds of crazy things. I don't want to, mess with you right now. But I take that and I make a note of it, a mental note. But I never do it. Why? I'm smarter. Why? I'm an Israelite. Why? I serve the God who created the heavens and the earth. Why would I want to look like trash? You see? So there is a certain sense of integrity. There's a certain sense of decency, a commitment, and dedication, a loyalty that has to come into the picture as well. And that's what it is. And here's the point. You cannot just do these things and be nice and decent and dress and whatever when the cameras are on you and the lights are on you. But in the middle of darkness, you take all your clothes off and start partying. And what? No, I did that because I learned that from Priest Noreen, but I'm not going to do No, the point is you have to show a measure of integrity all the time. Because if you just put on a show, then what's going to happen when you think no one is looking, but you are being videotaped or whatever? You may not know. Just because you can't see doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't someone watching. I've learned a long time. I don't want to get into this, but I'll just mention it to you. Every cloud is not necessarily a cloud that you think it is. It may be something more than that, but that's another story. So remember those three areas. Remember who is in control. Remember what is going on all the time. Whether you are aware of it or not, it is happening. We are here for a very important reason. To teach about the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, because nobody else knows about him. I challenge anybody in this room to go out there right now, go in the street corner, and ask about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Go out and see how many people are going to know what you're talking about. Nobody will know. But you ask about Jesus, everybody knows. Ask about Muhammad, everybody knows. Who else? I don't know anybody else. So it makes a big difference. Okay, I forgot Satan. Everybody knows about him. You see what I'm saying? So maybe, what does that say? Are we doing a good job? Maybe not. Maybe we are. Maybe the fact is everyone does not have ears to hear or eyes to see. And we have to learn to appreciate that as well. So all of this is coming together to show how we could be instrumental in spreading this word to the four corners of the earth. So at least they would have a choice to hear or forbear, to do or not to do. It's up to them. But once our job is over, we're good. As simple as that. And for those of us who are born into this, but didn't know that we were, this makes all the difference for us to step up our game and to double, quadruple our behavior so that others can see by looking at us. How did you get to do this? How did you know how to do that? My God blesses me. Who is your God? The God of Abraham, Isaac. What? Who? Where? Why? And you break it. Oh, you didn't know about him? Oh, I'll teach you. And that's how you do it. But if you don't give some type of acknowledgement for that blessing, then suddenly the blessing will start to dissipate. The more you give back, the more you will receive. And don't just say it. Do it earnestly. Do it from a dignified and respectful position so that others will want to be just like you. Trust me, you've got the looks already. That's done. Right, Atisha? We got the looks. We know. We got what's going on. All we got to do now is bring the word out and let them see that you're more than just physical beauty. Yeah, that's it. Let them see how smart you are when you open up your mouth. And you're like, whoa, how does she know that? You know, they thought you were just another Friday night girl. No, you are a Friday night girl with wisdom, you know, but except that you're out there on Monday and Tuesday night. Makes a difference. That's what it's all about. If you don't do this and find your way that it fits, the other guy is the guy that is watching you and is going to have an influence over you. And trust me, he's got quite a few agents out there. They come in every field as possible. So, I want to show you, I'm going to talk about a few things that are going to help to put this cultural perspective in the big picture where it belongs, to show you that we don't just do these things because we feel like it, to show you that there's a high spiritual meaning behind what we do. And it makes sense to us, and to show you why some of the issues that we face, some of the challenges that we face are because we do these things, right? Because they don't expect you to do it, because they know who you are, and they want to keep you in your place or keep you out of your place, either way. It just so happens that this month, Sivan, is the third month of the year. That in itself, as Priest Doreen has said earlier, is an important cultural dynamic. And we talked about this briefly at New Moon, and we talked about it again a little bit briefly at Sabbath. And I was hoping today to get into a little bit more detail so that you can understand the significance of this month. Because this month to me is, where's Hananiah? He's not here. I know. Hananiah is 7, but he's brilliant. And that's my boy, and I would do anything. I don't know who his mom is, but whoever she is one privileged lady. And yeah, she is very special. Thank you for that. She needs to be very proud of that boy, because that boy wants to build a temple for the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. But Yeah, go ahead, applaud for him. I will show you the significance of the temple. I will show you the other components of some of them. I don't have time for all of them, but I will give you some insight into what that means and how you could be a contributor to that. He is 7, but he is already building the temple. And I know that sounds a little bit strange, but I want you to know that it is relative. Also, I know Aunt Elaine, I was talking to her earlier today, and she has a special project that she's been working on for over a year or so that features another cultural dynamic, which is education. And one of the things that we have, and she's going to be putting out the video sometime later this month, or next month, I should say. But the important thing is, again, it speaks to all of this culture that we are talking about today, because there's a pattern that we noticed. The children of slavery, they go everywhere. They're distributed throughout the entire world. Wherever we go, we educate the people that we are living amongst. We lift them up, but we get nothing in return. Why? Because we end up marrying their children, serving their God, doing all kinds of crazy things that are contrary, and we never get anything. How many people know today, for example, that we are living right now in a slave-based economy? The entire economic structure of this world is slave-based. What do I mean by that? The children of Israel have contributed more, and we are just less than 1%. And now, right now in the Israelite nation, less than 1%. But when you think about it, we have contributed more to this world than all the other nations combined. I'll show you how it works. Okay, in the United States, for example, there's they grow rice, cotton, sugar cane, whatever. All of this helps them to be lifted up economically. They traded with Britain because Britain used to own that place. And then they too rose up. Then the British took the cotton and made sheets and pillowcases and clothing and everything. And they sold that back to the United States and other European countries. And then they, of course, would sell it and so on and make a lot of money. The point is, not one of the children of Israel, well, they didn't even know who they were, but not one of them benefited from that. See, I can't even say the word. Why? I didn't receive any benefits. So I've thrown that word away out of my vocabulary. But yet, you ever heard of the Marshall Plan? And I didn't mean to get into all this, but I'm just showing you how it works. The Marshall Plan was money that they took, slave money, and they sent it to Germany to invest in all the industries there. There's also the Chinese at one time owned about 20% of the U.S. National debt. That was an investment that they made, and it was a good investment. But the point is, as a result of that, they have grown substantially where now they're competing with the United States. So all I'm saying is, when you think about it, you see it in the news every day, and now the United States is in a position where they can't pay their debt. Why? Because we're not working for them anymore. Because before, listen, let me tell you this. I don't want to run out of time here. But do you know what is one of the most expensive components of a business? Labor. Anything to do with labor, including not only salaries, but also, benefits, etc. So if you had slaves, how does that fit into your profile? You don't have to pay any labor, right? So you've got, and labor like right now is about, let's be conservative and say 40%. It's probably more than that, depending on the type of business you're in. 40%, that means you are putting into your banking savings account 40% of your GDP, your gross domestic product. 40% in the savings account. If you'd done that for 400 years, we were making our contribution for 400 years and not getting paid, how today can you be in debt unless you are a stupid manager? You mismanage your economics. if you mismanage the economy, because you don't have to pay that 40, 45%, in some cases it's 50, how can you be in debt? It makes no sense. You see my point? So they should be living, like one of the things I like about China, when I was a boy, they used to ride the rickshaw. You know what a rickshaw is? My Chinese friends don't ride rickshaws anymore. They ride Mercedes-Benz, Rolls Royces, and so on. A rickshaw is a bicycle with a cart behind. They do it in India, but now India surpassed China in the population. So watch them now take off and give the Americans a challenge for their dollar. It's fascinating how the world is unfolding. And I'm watching all of this over the last 20 years or so, and I'm like, whoa, this is really amazing. It's fascinating. Why is it that all the other countries are going up and the Americans are going down? Is it that slavery was the ticket to the economic prosperity? And of course, with economic prosperity comes political and military power. But now you take away that and we get back to our God, and then they suffer. But you know what? I'm not here to talk about economics or politics. Let's go to Matthew 7. I get carried away by all of these things because, you see, I just can't separate reality from what is here in the scriptures. And to show you that it is all based on what we have contributed as the people. But nobody knows about it. Unless we talk about it, how are they going to know? Matthew 7. Let's go to Matthew chapter 7, because there is a very important point here that I want to make. We are, as Israelites, the royal priesthood of the kingdom of God on earth. So the God of Israel has carved out a little spot. As you see, we are not numerous, but we are more powerful. Why? Because the teachers are always the fewest. Remember that when you went to school? There's one teacher for how many students? That's back then. Now it's 40. And if you go to university, there's probably 100 in the room. Yeah, but one teacher, one professor. So this is the important thing. And today, when people are less, I don't want to say they're ignorant, but I'm going to say they're not as smart. There's one teacher for probably 10 million people. And all those teachers are Israelites. Believe it or not. Why? Because we serve the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. We have the spirit of understanding, and we make a difference then in the world. So I want you to see that we are a peculiar people. We are not normal. We are above average. We are above normal. And we have to remember that in everything that we do, because it is very important because of whom we serve. In Matthew chapter 7, I want to go from verse 13. And it says, enter ye in at the straight gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. So I just wanted to show you how few we are, but how powerful we are. It says, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. So if there's just a handful of us here, I take that as a compliment. I know Elder would tell you that when we first started, I only wanted 7 of us. And I got my reasons for that. But I don't like a lot of people, as he says, because a lot of people bring a lot of issues, and I don't want to deal with that. I like to stay with the script, as simple as that. Okay? It says, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruit. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? I don't know where you're getting your grapes, but my grapes has to be on a grape tree or plant. It's simple, that vine. So even in this scripture, they're telling us to be very, very careful. First, if there's a multitude going in thereat, back away. It's not for you, right? Find a place of distinction. And you do according to your understanding how you go about doing that. Don't just go there because everybody is there, because they are allegedly people that are famous. Famous. Why did they get famous? Because they make a lot of money? They have to be famous if they're smart and intelligent. And if they're smart and intelligent, they wouldn't be there in the first place. So you have to use your discretion. You have to use a certain amount of analysis so that you could understand who, what, when, where, and why. Because they're not going to tell you. You have to make that decision for yourself. And I want to go to another scripture, one that we read every new moon. It's 1 Kings chapter 8, because these are important fundamentals. I know we know these things, but sometimes when you speak about Israel and how peculiar a treasure we are to the God of Israel, it is important to put these things in perspective so that when you read it again, you will see exactly what we're talking about. And I'll read what part of King Solomon's prayer. He says from verse 46, "If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not." And by the way, this entire chapter 8 is about Israel. Solomon makes it clear. He's always your people, Israel, right? He's not talking about the world. It's only about us. He's only praying for us as a people. And I thought it was and this is, when Elder first introduced me to this, I was very humble. And because here's King Solomon. Normally, we look at people that call themselves kings. They don't care about poor people. They don't care about people that are destitute or looking for an upper hand or whatever. But here he is, and he is remembering his own people. He knows the limitations, the weaknesses, and he knows the character of our people. And he is praying to the God of Israel at a time when he was dedicating the temple to the God of Israel. And he says, "If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not, and thou be angry with them, and deliver them to the enemy, so that they carry them away captives unto the land of the enemy, far or near." Notice that the fact that we are here means we have sinned. A sin is a violation of the covenant, right? If you have that covenant and you violate it, there are consequences. You cannot be the thief and the judge at the same time. You cannot be the victim. You see, the point is, if you commit the crime, then the judge is going to determine what your sentence is going to be. And we're talking about the supreme judge of all judges, who is the God of Israel. And obviously, the fact that we ended up as slaves, not just once or twice, but several times. Read the book of Judges, you'll see. We still haven't learned. What does it take for us to do what's right in the sight of the God of Israel? How can we turn that around? We're not here to blame you. We're here to encourage you so that you could help make a difference and to show the God of Israel that his decision to choose us as his people will not be in vain. It was worthwhile. Let him know, yes, there were some challenges. We didn't always know. And make your prayer privately. Let him know that you regret some of the things that you've done. But from henceforth, you're going to try to do what's right. And you have to make that real. You can't just say it and expect that everything's going to be normal. If you commit yourself, you have to live the life accordingly. Verse 47. Yet if they shall, well, here's what Solomon is saying. Yet if they shall bethink themselves in the land whither they were carried captives. See, he's saying it. And repent. And make supplication unto thee in the land of them that carried them captive, saying, we have sinned. We have done perversely. We have committed wickedness. Why would you say that? Because you have a covenant with him. You know, he has made that agreement with us and put his name at risk, if I can be so bold as to say that, by bringing us into his family and adopting us as his firstborn. Couldn't you imagine? His firstborn? And yet we mess up all the time. So we have to turn that around, make a difference. We just have to be mindful of that. I find that humility and obedience are the most powerful components to life as an Israelite. Humility before the God of Israel, and I will do what my Father says that I should do. And that's the obedience. But again, the humility is the fact that you're doing what he asked you to do. 48. And so return unto thee with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their enemies, which led them away captive. not just say it because you want to impress somebody. It has to come from the heart. Because if anything happens to you as a result of that, then it's on you. It's on you. It's not on us, and it's not on him. Because you said it from the heart. That's why each one of us, we must have a circumcised heart. What do I mean by that? We're not going to take your heart out and cut it with a knife. Right? But we will show you how to circumcise your heart. So that when you circumcise your heart, you don't need this book anymore. Because you know exactly what you do when the time comes. And you do it. That's how it is. But we have to get there. And these are the steps through practice, through cultural behavior that helps us to understand what we do, why we do it, and when we do it. And Solomon goes on. I can't read all of it right now, but if you continue to read that, you will see that he's talking about a people that have been enslaved and that they are returning to him, and thereby, he wants to ask his Father, who happens to be our Father also, to forgive us for our transgressions. Hear them when they cry out to you. But you have to know his name. You have to know when to call, how to call, and all these things are important. So our nation, as I said, represent less than 1%, but yet we contributed more than all the other nations combined. So it was in this third month of Sivan when we came out of Egypt, and it's when Moses went up at Mount Sinai to talk to the God of Israel. He was given the covenant at that time, all the laws, the statutes, and the judgments, and he made the agreement on our behalf that we would be his chosen people, and we would accept that decision that the God of Israel made. And then he came down and shared it with the elders and so on and so forth. And this was the third month in the year 1446 BCE when this occurred at Mount Sinai. The important issue here is this was done in total secrecy in the wilderness. There was no other nation involved, just the Israelites. There were not one Christians. No one practiced Judaism. No Muslims. No Hebrew Israelites. Only the Israelite nation. We were the only ones there in the wilderness. I like to say you could not even find a grasshopper in the wilderness. Why? There is no grass. It's quite that simple. It's not rocket science, So my point is we have to recognize the significance of this month and what took place. We were there for 40 years in the wilderness. Moses went up for 40 days, then he came down. But we were there for 40 years in secret, learning. It was like going to college, going to university, okay? And the God of Israel took care of us, not only fed us with manna and he even gave us fried chicken once. He rained down chicken from heaven. I remember in the States, they used to make fun of us, black people like fried chicken and watermelon. And I was like, oh. So when the guy told me that, I said, oh, so you know about us as Israelites. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, you said we like fried chicken. I said, yeah, we do like fried chicken. The God of Israel rained down chicken upon us. And I'm sure, in the wilderness, what else are you going to do? You got to fry it, right? Bake it, whatever, right? You don't have no oven. You put it over the fire and, fried chicken. Yeah, we did that. But, here's the key. They would make fun of you or us, but yet one of the biggest fried chicken places is where? KFC. So somebody knows. Where do you think he got the recipe? Thank you. Do your research. Don't take back my word. Do the research. And so if we did that, we must have gotten it from somebody. When the chicken comes down, you grab two, put them on the fire, and do what you have to do, right? So this is the significance, and nothing after fried chicken like watermelon. And that's the real stuff. This is not the stuff that's genetically modified today. It's the real good stuff. It's sweet. See, you don't get that anymore. Well, Sophie's not here, so that's good. But my point, though, is I put the Israelite concept in his head. When he thought that I was going to feel embarrassed, I took it to another level to let him know that the creator of heaven and earth is the one that got us into this chicken business. And I don't know why, people don't continue with it. Why you let KFC take advantage of us, out of our skill sets, and make money. And they're not the only one. A lot of the other businesses have done this. You see? So we have to learn how to do these things ourselves. So, and this month, however, we have an opportunity to reflect on what took place in the third month. And as much as I know I'm running out of time, I would like another hour, but I don't have it. I wanted to look at some of the secret cultural elements that help us. For example, when Moses came down, he knew how to build a temple. He was given the pattern, the holy pattern of how to build a temple for the God of Israel. He was told also to include some specific furniture, let's put it that way, like the mercy seat. You've heard of the mercy seat, right? The Ark of the Covenant, the seven-branch candlestick. He also was told about the new moon, the Sabbath, circumcision, baptism. All of these are things that we learned in the wilderness in secret. There was nobody else there. So if we are the only ones that was given that secret and confidential and cultural information, how come now everyone is trying to encroach on our culture, trying to overthrow us? And they don't even get it right. I mean, Moses was told to build a seven-branch candlestick, and now people are building 9. Why? So my point is, I would love to go to the bank and give the teller a request for $700, and she gives me $900. Of course, when I tell her that, how much did you charge my account? And she says, 7. Okay, I can deal with that. I'll be back there like 4 times as much as possible to get more money. So my point is, if they don't know the difference between 7 and 9, how can you call yourself an Israelite? You see my point? It's because the physical traits, the physical behavioral traits are going to determine who you are. But then when you read the story, like I said, these are allegories, these are fables. You see that's 9th candle, which is in the center, is a sun god called Shamash. Do your own research. They'll tell you from, whatever. So this is very important. Moses was our mediator, and he did a great job. This is why we say there's only one Israelite. There's only one church. There's only one baptism. There's only one temple. These are things that are important to understand. We're not saying this because we want to, get our head swollen. We're saying it because it's true. Because there's only one God of truth. So why would there be different, elements to serve him? It doesn't make sense. This is what works for him. This is what he told Moses to do in the 3rd month of the year, and this is what Moses did. So, for example, when we build a temple, Hananiah is going to do that, or started the process. As I said before, I'll say it again, we now happen to be the components of that temple. You don't have to go out anymore and get bricks and mortar. Why? Because we have you. Each one of us is a precious stone. And each one of us is connected by cement that you don't have to buy from Home Depot or Walmart. You know what that is? The Spirit of truth. The truth will hold you together. The only time we separate is if you lie or you try to be deceptive. So we then become the temple. And it's a temple built without hands. There's a sound that worship sings to that effect. And we can read about that. We don't have a lot of time to get into it, unfortunately. The other thing that Moses was told to build is a mercy seat. What is a mercy seat? I call it the throne of the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. But it's not a throne that he sits on. It was above the mercy seat, and there were the cherubims on either side. But the significance of the mercy seat was there for our forgiveness. Now, I find that to be incredibly wise. Why? Because why would you call it a mercy seat? Mercy is when you have forgiveness, when you show forgiveness. He knew that we were going to get ourselves in a lot of trouble. He knew a lot about us that we didn't know about ourselves. So of all the seats I'm going to have in this temple, put the mercy seat right to the front. Because we're dealing with these Israelites. I thought that was incredibly wise. And I'm very thankful. Because now we can petition him and ask for forgiveness. And he will hear our prayer and show mercy upon us. Because we had that mercy seat. We don't have it anymore. But he is still there. I look at grace as mercy. Grace is tantamount to being merciful. But that's a different subject we can look at another time. The Ark of the Covenant. How many of you watched the movies that dealt with the Ark of the Covenant? And they came all the way from Germany, back in the days of Hitler. Everybody wanted that Ark. Why? Because there's power in that Ark. But we didn't look at it like that, you know. And when I remember the Philistines took it, but didn't work for them. So why would every people want to come all the way from Northern Europe to take it? It is more dangerous for you to take the tools of an Israelite if you're not part of the family. First, become part of the family and exercise that authority if you can. But to take it outside and use it, no, it's not going to work for you like that. But the Ark of the Covenant was there, and it was within that you had they call it the Ark of the Covenant. So the covenant, written form, was sitting in that ark or in that vessel. You see? But we don't have the ark anymore. We don't have the mercy seat anymore. But we still have the temple. We are the temple, collectively speaking. Then, of course, there's the candlestick. I talked about that earlier, the 7-branch candlestick, not the 9, not the 5, 7. And if you're going to build a 7, then you know how to use it. When you have that, you call on the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. If you call on anyone else, well, that's on you. I don't want to think that you could survive that, but that's a whole different picture. And of course, you have the new moon. We talked about that earlier. The Sabbaths. You have the circumcision. Priest Doreen talked about that. You have baptism, which is important. All of these are part and parcel. These are different stages in the process of awareness and education, because you don't just walk right in and go and stand before the altar. You have to know how to do what you do, what to do, what you do there, and so on and so forth. If you don't know, you could hurt yourself. And if you hurt yourself, who are you going to blame? You're not going to blame you. You're going to blame us. Right? You're going to blame the God of Israel. He saw me coming. What did he do? No. There were people in the scriptures that did things, powerful people, at an altar that they were not supposed to do. They were never the same. But before that, they were decent people. But sometimes your head gets a little bigger than your feet. Or maybe it's supposed to be that way, I don't know. But my point is, you get yourself in trouble as a result of your vanity. We don't want that. So our duty is to advise you correctly and inform you of the proper procedure accordingly. So all of these steps Moses learned at this time. And I didn't even get a chance to go to show you Exodus 19. If you want to go there quickly, I could show you exactly what I'm talking about. See, I have a tendency sometimes to talk too much, and I don't get into all the details that I need to get into. Maybe I need a longer time. Instead of 1 hour, maybe 5 hours. And we can have lunch and dinner and come back for more. It says, in the 3rd month, Exodus 19, in the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came there into the wilderness of Sinai. For they were departed from Rephidim and were come come to the desert of Sinai and had pitched in the wilderness, and there Israel camped before the mount. And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all the people, above all people, for all the earth is mine. I like to call that last line his signature. When he says, above all people, for all the earth is mine. He just signed off on it. Don't expect he to have a signature like mine or yours. He doesn't have a name like us, so that makes a difference. So these are the significant points, I believe, that we should get to learn about and understand why we do what we do, so that we can have a more meaningful relationship with the God of Israel. I'm sorry I didn't get to finish my presentation. There's so much more that I would love to share with you. Maybe we'll have to do a part 2 and bring in a lot more. But I was grateful. Trust me, there's nothing that gives me more satisfaction than sharing the wisdom of the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob that is written in our Holy Bible. But I appreciate your time for listening and being patient with us. For all this, I say peace.